welcome to Mount Kelly Prep Radio's 20 Questions, with me, Toby Berryman.
And me, Archie Burton.
Our fourth guest is Phil de Glanville.
Hi Phil, please tell us a little bit about yourself, your current work, your past career and what you do.
Hello, well welcome everyone, I'm delighted to be here. I was a former professional rugby union player in the past. My current work is I work for a headhunters called Hanover Fox based in Bristol and London. And my past career involved playing for Bath and for England. I played almost 200 games for Bath and won 38 caps for England and was England captain for a year as well. Played in 2 World Cups, 1995 and 1999. I retired from rugby in 2001 and I since then have been working for an organisation called Sport England, Hartbury College and now Hanover Fox International.
What was your favourite rugby match you have ever played in?
My favourite one, I think, was the first game that I actually started in. So I did win a couple of caps coming off the bench as a substitute, but the first match I started was against New Zealand in 1993, and we beat them, which doesn't happen very often against New Zealand, and that was definitely my most enjoyable, not only because it was my first starting cap, but also beating the best team in the world.
Who is the best player you have ever played with?
Played with would be Richard Hill, who played for England and the British Lions at number 6, the flanker. He was a real unsung hero, and probably if you were watching a game as a spectator, you wouldn't see him that much, but as a player, you always knew he was going to be there to support you. He was an incredible link player. He was a fantastic back row player and a great guy on top of that. So Richard Hill, who played for Saracens and for England, would be the best player I ever played with.
What tips would you give to a young aspiring rugby player?
2 really. I'd say one, always make sure you play lots of different sports. Don't ever play just rugby. Keep playing lots of sports for as long as you can, certainly until you're kind of 18, 19. And then the other one is you're bound to encounter setbacks on the way, injuries or not being selected, loss of form, that kind of thing. There isn't a player who's made it to the very top that hasn't had those setbacks. So when you have those, don't give up. Just keep on going.
Who's the best player you've ever played against?
Against would be Philippe Sella, who is a French centre. My position was centre. Once I started playing international rugby, I did play scrum half and fly half when I was younger. Moved to centre, as a senior player. And Philippe Sella was one of those brilliant French centres who could do everything. He was physical, he could tackle, he could kick. He had beautifully soft hands that he could put other players into space with, and he had great pace and great vision. So Philippe Sella, best player I ever played against.
What was your favourite moment on a rugby pitch?
This is a pretty hard one because there are a lot of excellent moments on a rugby pitch, but probably for me what edges it is scoring a try against New Zealand when we played at Old Trafford in 1997, and we played New Zealand back to back, once at Old Trafford and once at Twickenham, but I scored against them at Old Trafford, and that was pretty magical.
Who was your favourite teammate when you were playing for England and why?
That would have to be one Jason Leonard, who is a prop, and he's just been president of the RFU last year. He was your ultimate team player. He would always be there for you as a player. He would put his body on the line for you, knew he was going to give more than 100% if that's possible, and a fantastic bloke with it. So Jason Leonard, he's just an outstanding icon of English rugby.
Who was the funniest teammate when you were playing for England?
Well, the funniest would have to be one, I call him the dwarf, he's little fella called Austin Healy. That was his nickname, and he was probably the smallest guy. He currently commentates on BT Sport. He's a very cheeky chappy, and he would always have a one-liner about everything. Sometimes annoyingly about everything, because he did like to talk. But Austin Healy was a very funny man.
Growing up, who was your all-time favourite rugby player?
This will be a gentleman called Dusty Hare, who is now academy director at Northampton Saints, and I watched him. I went with my dad to Twickenham to watch him play. In fact, we watched him play against New Zealand at Twickenham, and he was just he was bald even then, and he was just a great fullback for England.
What is your all-time favourite rugby-related moment?
Well, this is quite a special one because it would have to be meeting the President of South Africa, Nelson Mandela, in 1994, 2 years after he'd been released from prison. And obviously everyone knows who Nelson Mandela is, but we were the first team to tour South Africa after apartheid, and to meet him in the stadium, shake his hands prior to playing South Africa, it still brings hairs on the back of my neck. It was a magical moment.
Now on to our 10 set questions, which we asked everyone who joins us on 20 questions.
What is your favourite piece of music?
This is a very easy one. It's Walking on Sunshine from Katrina and the Waves. That's the band that were playing when I met my girlfriend and now wife in Durham University. And that's my most special piece of music.
If you could invite 3 people, dead or alive, to a dinner party, who would you choose and why?
Well, I have to go with Nelson Mandela first, just because of everything he achieved to come out of prison and to be so humble and do his best to try and unify South Africa after all the years of apartheid was magical. For comedy value and the fact I think they're so clever with their wit, if I'm allowed to have them both as one, I'd have Ant and Dec. I certainly, whenever I see them on TV, they are just brilliant and just have me in stitches. And then I'd like to have an actress called Michelle Pfeiffer, who has been in a lot of fantastic films, and I was certainly someone who was my kind of heartthrob when I was younger.
What is your favourite piece of literature and why?
I love the poems about the First World War. So Wilfred Owen and Siegfried Sassoon. I studied those poems when I was doing my English A-level and GCSE, or O-level as it was then. So those poems by Wilfred Owen and Siegfried Sassoon, they're just so evocative, and the words that they use they just bring the reality of what war must have been like to life. So Wilfred Owen and Siegfried Sassoon.
What is your favourite place and why?
Well, I have to go with Bath. It's a beautiful Georgian city. I've lived in Bath since I was 21, so that's quite a few years now. It's big enough that there's lots going on, but small enough that you know lots of people there. And I love it as a place to live.
What is your favourite piece of art and why?
This is a very difficult question. I don't have a favourite piece of art per se, but what I would say is that I love sculpture, more than any other kind of form of art. So again, seeing a beautifully crafted piece of sculpture and modern art is something I will always take the time to stop and have a look at. I happen to be working in London quite a lot at the moment, and there is a lot around, and just to be able to stop and take notice of them is great. So sculpture, really, dodging the question, but it's very hard to actually have one specific piece.
What is the best piece of advice you have ever been given?
Well, it's probably never give up. I think if you go through life with that attitude of never giving up, and keep on going regardless of whether you hit failure or not, then you're going to go a long way. And that's probably the best bit of advice I've had.
If you weren't a professional rugby player, what do you think you might have been?
I would almost certainly have been a politician. I did politics and economics at Durham University, and then politics at Oxford as a postgrad, and I would have gone into that as a profession. Unfortunately, when I got married to my wife, she said, "You can do anything else but be a politician." So that stymied that one, but that's what I would probably be, a politician.
What do you think your greatest achievement has been?
I think greatest achievement comes back to a personal one, actually, and that's raising a family. I've got 3 boys who all teenage, and hopefully we've managed to bring them up on so that they're well-balanced young men, and they're going to be able to make a contribution to society, and I'd say that's my greatest achievement.
What do you love doing the most?
Playing sport and doing exercise. I just love it. I don't normally kind of do many activities in sports kind of on my own. I love playing in teams. So whether that's cycling in groups or playing five-a-side football, or playing tennis or doing kind of gym classes with other people. I love the whole interaction, amongst teams and other people. And just sport itself, it just makes you feel so good.
And finally, do you have a hobby or secret talent?
I have several hobbies, but one that's probably kept hidden away relatively is I love bird watching, particularly birds of prey. Always used to love that as a young boy, and I've always maintained an interest in that. So you literally, the other weekend when we were cycling, there was a buzzard on top of one of the lampposts. I have to stop and look at it. They're just beautiful, beautiful animals, and so yeah, that's my hidden hobby.
Thank you for joining us on 20 Questions.